Well, hello and welcome to a rather chilly Europe here as the riders race from just outside of Paris, from Compiègne, the start traditionally of the Paris-Roubaix and race to Roubaix on the borders of Belgium. I'm Phil Liggett, joined alongside me by Paul Sherwin. This is the 104th running of the event they call the Queen of the Classics, and at the moment the riders have an awful long way to go, but 4 riders establishing a lead of just over 2.5 minutes, and this is Joost Postuma, the Dutchman from Rabobank, Nicolas Portal of the Case d'Apern group, he's a Frenchman on the Spanish team, Stef Schreck from T-Mobile, and Dmitriev Konishev of the LPR team. Those are the leaders, and they've just crossed only one sector of the famous cobblestones, with the rest still lying ahead, so there's a long rough road to go.
Looking here at the 4 leaders, just at the back here, Nicolas Portal, a rider who's moved across to the Spanish Case d'Epargne Lille Baleares team. Stefan Schreck is in the pink jersey there of T-Mobile. Dmitry Konishev, quite remarkable, a rider who I thought had retired a couple of seasons ago, and I was quite shocked to see him racing again.
Well, Joost Postuma, the Rabobank rider, who's up at the front at the moment, is having a very active spring here, that's for sure. Nicolas Portal, new colours for him this year in the Case d'Apern. This is the first feed now. Well, there's been a few little falls this morning, but none, as far as we know, have been serious. But one of the race favourites, George Hincapie, was an early faller. He got back up. He went down with one other rider soon after the start at around 31 kilometres in. The race distance is over 259 kilometres today. It may look a very nice early summer's day in Europe, but I can tell you it isn't. It is actually quite chilly, some 10 degrees.
Yeah, this is the feeding station. The riders were just going through there at the town of Solesmes as we head now into the next section of cobblestones, and this should be the section of cobblestones known as Vertin-Saint-Martin. It's the 23rd section to go, and it is a fairly rough section, but I think everybody very worried about the forest of Arenberg here this afternoon. This is sector 23 to go. It's 1.9 kilometres in length. It's given 3 stars. The most difficult section stones are given a 5-star rating. As you look here, you can start to see the time gaps. We're looking at a leading group of 4 riders. There are 3 chasers at 2.5 minutes, and one man just behind them riding on his own, Frankie Hoy, and I'm not quite sure what he's doing there because he's been caught in no man's land. And the main field, Phil, are back at 4 minutes and 10 seconds.
Well, we do appear to be having a problem with our pictures, and if you're having the same problem, it is the cobblestones causing them. They're vibrating the motorbikes with the cameras on just now. These are the leaders, as Paul has said, on sector 23. There's 27 sectors of cobblestones, adding up to more than 52 kilometres of bad roads. As the riders now are beginning to find that the field behind there is a reaction coming. The 4 leaders here are being chased by a group, including Marco Di Ghetto, Stefan Berges, Ico Flores, Frank Hoy, Johan Verstrepen. The peloton for the moment has slipped away a little bit to just over 4 minutes behind. Quick Step got control of the peloton. Just trying to see, I can see Tom Bonen. I think we've got Robbie Hunter peeping into the left of our picture, the South African in the race for Phonak, and he's looking to do a ride today. He'll try to stay near the sharp end of the race as we get down to the forest, and then it's a case of see how you traverse the forest. Now they've rebuilt the... Oh, there's been a fall right in the middle. What a bizarre crash that is, and what a terrible place to fall. And the peloton, amazingly, Paul, appear to have gone round him.
Well, that was a crazy move. I think he just touched the wheel in front of him, but he went down very rapidly indeed. In fact, he was the man who started that move. And that's just how attentive you have to be, because the danger here in Paris-Roubaix is not just have a look at it again. What happened? That was a real amateur mistake, I have to say there, Phil. What happened was he was looking back, and as he looked around, he just touched the wheel of the rider in front, and he went down pretty hard there.
Absolutely amazing that nobody in the peloton appears to have fallen here, and he's sitting there probably frightened to death of the way the riders are coming at him. They've all gone round him. Couldn't recognise who it was. He was certainly a member of the Landbau Credit Rider team, so it was a Belgian cyclist, but I don't know which one it was who went down. These are the leaders, and they've been the leaders now since about the 60th kilometre or so today. At one stage enjoying nearly 5 minutes, but now falling away to just on 1.5. And the gap, latest time check, we've got 1:25 as they approach the forest. Konishev He knows it's only a matter of time, but I think he'd dearly like to be out the other end of the forest before they come up.
Certainly would. It'd be nice to go in after all of the effort these riders have put on in what is known as l'échappée matinale, the early morning breakaway, which is nearly always doomed for failure, but it does lay its mark on the race. They raced the first hour of racing here in Paris-Roubaix at 47 kilometres an hour. They're starting to slow down a little bit now because of the cobblestones, but in the main field they will be doing around about 50 kilometres an hour now as they set themselves up for this big well-known forest.
Here's the sharp left-hand turn. There's the arrowhead of the peloton. And those stringing out at the back are going to be in difficulty very soon now, because this race will split in the Forest of Arenberg. And we're not far from the entry now.
Everybody's getting nervous. This is a nervous time. Now look at that. 4 minutes they had about 25 kilometres ago. It's down to 1 minute advantage over the majority of the main field. One or two riders have been left behind because of incidents and crashes and flat tyres out on the course. We saw Thor Hushoff at the back of the main field a few moments ago. He must be wondering whether or not he's going to have any bad luck in this section of cobblestones coming up now. Wallers, Arenberg, this is a very famous place.
And it's a beautiful area too, once you get into the forest. Very quiet, very peaceful, except on Paris-Roubaix day. Long straight approach now. That bridge in the distance is actually over the entry of the forest and the cobblestones, and these four guys are going to make it first. It was touch and go at one stage, but Postuma, Portal, Schreck and Konishev at the back are going to enter the forest with a lead of less than a minute, and at one stage they had just under 5 minutes. So they might well get caught in the forest.
I think they will get caught in the forest, because you can see now that the impetus has gone out of their chase. They've done what they wanted to do. They've survived the early part of today's race, but in the same streets now of the town of Wallers is the main peloton. There you can see over on the left-hand side, Peter van Petegem is at the front with his men, but they're about to start the charge, Phil, now into the forest.
A huge crowd awaits here in the Forest of Arenberg as they go under the banner which will say Sector 17. The Arenberg Forest. The four leaders here of Paris-Roubaix, they are now entering the 5-star section of the Forest of Arenberg with a lead of 53 seconds over the whole main pack of riders here. George Hincapie has moved up to the front, so too Leif Hoster, Tom Bonen. This is going to be a real battle of the stars now over this new stretch of cobblestones. We'll see how they manage to ride it now.
Well, it might be a new section of cobblestones, but you look at the way those bikes are bouncing around all over the place. They've managed to keep the barriers and the crowd away to make it as safe as possible for these bike riders. But just look how difficult this section is. 2.4 kilometres long. They go slightly downhill, and look how fast the main field is going, and Tom Bonen is on the front.
It's Tom Bonen driving, Hincapie right behind him. The big two men are firing on the cobbles in the forest here. All of the white that's coming off is in fact the silver sand they used to hold the cobbles together. The riders were complaining that the wheels were sticking in it. Well, now we're going to find out just by how much, because they're going to have to ride down the breakaway. Hincapie and Bonen one-on-one.
One-on-one. Tom Bonen is one of the biggest specialists in the world now, Phil, at the Cobblestone Classics. He's looking to win this again. Look at the way he's picking his way over the cobblestones, but right on his wheel is Hincapie. Stefan Weissermann is not too far away either, and I don't believe that Van Petegem is far away from them either.
Well, they know just the importance of being on the front here, because they know riders will be falling behind them on these cobblestones, and they're going to have to drive. Stefan Schreck is setting the pace for T-Mobile, but these are the leading four riders now in the gunning sights of the pack. The pack is being led by Tom Bonen. Hincapie's read it perfectly. Suddenly he appears to take the wheel of the world champion.
Well, this is a very difficult section of cobblestones. The leading group of four now down to 3, but there is the main field. Nobody's down yet. Everybody is still riding nice and safely at the front end of the main field, but it looks as if somebody else has taken over the pacemaking, because this looks like Cancellara.
Well, he's also a man tipped. He was ranked amongst the second favourites to win this race, the Swiss rider Fabien Cancellara. He's riding well as he's got over the front. Bonen looks across there at George Hincapie. Hincapie's got everything under control, leading the race just behind the CSC rider here. But cast your eyes to the back of the race, because that's where it is really not the place to be. Riders dodging and diving in every direction.
Well, you see the big riders are riding right down the cobblestone section in the middle. That's actually, believe it or not, the safest part of the race to be. Hincapie has taken the responsibility there of chasing down Cancellara, and he's put, in fact, Tom Boonen into second place. These are the three leaders. They will go off the cobblestones probably in first, second and third place, but not by very much at all.
And the only man they will have left behind is the grand old 40-year-old Dmitry Konishev, the oldest man in this race. As he continues to go back into the peloton, the other three push on to exit the Forest of Arenberg. And they're in a very good position now to join the head of the peloton, because this would be a reshape here.
Well, this is a big reshape. It's the most important part of Paris-Roubaix for me, because this is where you can have serious bad luck. And if you had bad luck here or a flat tyre, you can come out of the Forest of Arenberg 2.5 minutes behind everybody else in the race. Peter van Petegem riding very well right up to the front end of the main field, but George Hincapie, Phil, today demonstrating that he wants to win this race.
Well, he's made it known he's fed up of finishing in the placings. Now he wants to finish and get the cobblestone for the sideboard at home for himself. That's what the winner gets, along with about €30,000. As we're now looking here at the leaders of the race.
Well, they're catching Postuma. There he is over to the right-hand side. Look at Boonen. He's just looking so relaxed in the cobblestones. He's the man there in the white jersey. Looks great as the world champion. Moving round at the outside as well, you can see the rider there from the Française des Jeux. There's two riders in there from Team Discovery Channel, but this is really the first forming of the decanting of the stars. There's Van Petegem going through there, and Hincapie will be very happy. They've got two teammates in that group.
17 riders have gone off the cobbles in that group together. The rest are trying to repair the damage here. Look at the face of Baden-Cock, third in line. He's not that far behind as he grimaces to come off these cobbles with the second group on the road. As we switch now to what is life at the back of the peloton on Paris-Roubaix.
Well, this is just a section of 2.4 kilometres, just inside of 2 miles of racing, and look at the damage. It seems like an awful long time since we saw George Hincapie and his group go off the back. I just caught a quick glimpse there of Hervé Duclos-Lassalle. His dad won this race on 2 occasions.
But that was Hervé right on the back and learning the hard way, as indeed his dad did in the old days too.
Bradley Wiggins just going through there as well. He's at the back end of the bike race. This is a very excruciating part of the sport, trying to ride over these cobblestones. And you see, once you lose your speed, you bump into every single stone on this road.
Now we move up on the mobile ones. The world champion, #1, Tom Boonen, taking stock now as to who is with him. Well, I think he hasn't lost any of the main worries of the race. Stefan Wesserman is here, George Hincapie is here, and so too is Peter van Petegem.